Silksong's crests have been pretty heavily debated and discussed since the game's release. I myself had used a fair few of these crests when playing the game, but there were a few that I had not fully given the time to shine. I decided I wanted to do a playthrough with each crest, and decide my opinions through that. I ended up going 2 playthroughs deep, and then I realized that it was more fun to speedrun the game with each crest, rather than just do a normal playthrough. As a heads up, I'm not the most talented when it comes to speedrunning. I know a little bit about it, I know the route and some skips, but I'm not crazy good at combat or the skips themselves, so my time is a bit slower than, some of the greats out there, but all my times are at least sub 3 hours, and I had a few that were sub 2 hours, which means all times did qualify for the speedrun achievement on Steam. I also chose not to do specific skips, for example Sister Splinter, just because I wanted a comparison point, and I felt like she was a good boss to do with each crest, just to see how they deal against aerial, large enemies, I guess. Despite this, I had a fairly decent time for each crest. I just had a handful of problem areas that I'm slowly getting better at. But now, how did each crest perform? Going into this video, I wasn't even sure if I would do a run with Hunter Crest, just because I had so much more experience with this crest compared to every single other crest on the list, that it felt strange just to do a speedrun with it, just to decide my opinion when I already had so many thoughts on it without it. And I ended up doing a run with it just for the completion's sake, and just to get a time with it for comparison with every other crest. I ended up getting a time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 14 seconds, and the reason this ended up being quicker is likely due to the insane movement that you can pull off with this crest. The pogo on the Hunter crest is insane in the right hands. Speedrunners have found some absurd movement tech already, with dive dashing being the most obvious example. It is one of the most fun crests to get around with, just to the insane speed that you can pull off. The pogo itself is way easier to use than you would think. The Hunter's March pogo section is not that bad, but the pogo is great in every scenario. It feels fluid in combat and satisfying in platforming. But there are the occasional moments you get caught on hazard or enemies when pogoing, but it's not that hard, you just have to be a little more cautious. I think objectively Hunter is the best crest in the game, which makes sense. It is the starting crest. It is Hornet. The Hunter crest is one of the most versatile crests in the game. It has the most balanced tool slot distribution along with Reaper, as well as the second highest DPS when fully upgraded. Despite this, it's not my favorite, or the one I find the most fun. But overall, it is one of my favorite crests. Going into doing this, I was aware that Reaper is among the more popular of the crests, but I also hadn't used it much before this, so I had no real idea on how I would feel about it. Using this crest, I had a final time of 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 14 seconds. This was also the crest that made me realize this video would work way better as a speedrun with every crest, rather than just a normal playthrough. This time could have definitely been better if I had went into it with the idea of it being a speedrun. I took a lengthy detour and Trample of the Reaper just because I thought it was fitting for the run. With everything in mind, I did good with this crest. It's a very comfortable pick, it's just not for me. I find the crest incredibly boring. There's next to no challenge when using it, and the challenge that is there feels more clunky than anything else. The crest is very slow, with longer swings that arc. Most of the time, that's fairly easy to use, but I had some trouble hitting things directly above me with the arcing up slashes, as it only covers one side of you compared to most other crests that cover both sides when slashing upwards. The pogo is incredibly easy to use, and I think that's the main reason it's so popular. I think most of players obtain this crest first, and if you have a crippling skill issue, it's the far easier pogo to use. Personally, I find using the Reaper pogo boring compared to most others. However, you can feel the weight of the pogo every time you land it, and it's satisfying enough just due to that, especially against bosses. I think I gave Trobio brain damage. I might be the reason that he's tormented in Act 3. Poor guy. Another thing I really like about the crest is the bind ability. When used correctly, you are able to generate an insane amount of silk. The only downside is that getting hit after binding immediately ends the silk generation. This makes sense from a balancing perspective, but it can be really frustrating if you immediately get hit after you bind. Also, chasing around little orbs at spawns can be really fun, but sometimes they spawn in hard to reach locations and you can't get them. Overall though, the ability is really good, both offensively and defensively. Reaper is probably the most comfortable crest in the game. I understand why so many people like it. It's the ultimate skill issue crest. The crest is a very low skill floor and ceiling, making it great for new players, but pretty bad for more skilled ones. It's great for exploration, with a super large pogo, but in combat the effectiveness can vary. It's one of the slowest DPSs in the game, just counting needle hits, but the large swings can make up for that if playing more passively. Overall, I understand the appeal, but it's just not for me. The Wanderer crest is another popular choice. Similar to the Reaper crest, you obtain it very early on. This was the first crest I found on my first playthrough, and I ended up using it for most of that run. This time was fairly quick, at 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 57 seconds. The only reason this wasn't faster is because of the long break I took between playthroughs when I ended up doing these runs. I used this crest after coming back as I thought it would be the easiest of the remaining crests to get back into the game with. I was absolutely correct. At first glance, Wanderer seems pretty different to Reaper. They are polar opposites on a conceptual level. Wanderer is fast, Reaper is slow. Wanderer has short range, Reaper has long. But both crests are incredibly beginner-friendly. While Reaper has a very obvious way of generating silk with its ability, Wanderer generates silk through how often you attack. It's similar to Quick Slash being used in the original Hollow Knight on spell builds as the best way to generate soul, more hits, more spells. Both Wanderer and Reaper also have straight down pose. Both are intuitive to use, but I hate the Wanderer's pogo far more. My biggest issue with the Wanderer crest is its lack of range. It's not too noticeable on the side slashes, but on the up and down slashes you're given next to nothing to work with. It's not too bad when pogoing non-hazards, but if you want to pogo spikes or a boss, it can be a bit stressful trying to get into the 2-inch, which is a lot by the way, sweet spot where you can hit the thing you want to get hit without getting touched. This can also be very annoying against flying enemies, as they can fly ever so slightly too high and you simply cannot hit them. Now, I definitely don't think the pogo is bad, it just requires a bit more precision than you would normally expect, but I definitely think the pogo is incredibly boring. It's easy like Reaper, but doesn't have the weight of Reaper. Besides the pogo, this is one of the most fun crests for combat. It's very monkey-brained though, you just hit thing really quick and it dies, but I had some of the quickest boss encounters using this, and it is incredibly fun. It has one of the highest needle DPSs in the game, and with no thinking necessary. It's only beat by Beast during a bind, and Hunter when it's fully upgraded, without getting hit. It allows you to just sit there, damage tank, and then just back off the heal because you hit the boss so many times, now you have full silk and just heal again. I also really like the crit. I don't think it helps that much, but the noise is super satisfying. Overall, the crest is great regardless of skill level. It definitely feels like an easy mode at times, but it doesn't affect it negatively for me, as the skill ceiling is also very high in the right hands. This crest can absolutely shred everything. This crest is versatile, and it's great for just about anyone. Just why the hell does it have 3 yellows? 4 with the best of crests. This is absurd. In what world does anyone need 4 yellows? All you really need is 1 for the dice.
Garama!
I ended up redoing this run as I didn't go into the first Beast Crest run with the idea of speedrunning. This was both the first and last crest that I did runs with. Most of the background footage will be from the first run with a time of 3 hours, 32 minutes, and 18 seconds. And I got footage from the second run, only of Last Judge and High Hall's Gauntlet. Second time was the fastest crest at 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 54 seconds. My best guess as to why this was the fastest, because this was the last run I did, and I just simply gotten better at the game, which is, unfortunately, a pretty boring answer. But I also fumbled hard on the Hunter crest, and that would have been the fastest if I didn't die to Cogwork Dancers 4 times. Only times I died to them. I never died to Cogwork Dancers. It's probably the easiest boss, by a mile, maybe besides Moss Mother, in the entire run. I died 4 times, and the run back was from Blasted Steps, because I just decided I wanted to just not bench. But Beast Crest did end up being the fastest. So what did it do right? DPS. It's DPS. Hunter does have good DPS as well, but that's with the upgraded version, and I used the unupgraded version throughout the entire run. Beast, you just have to press the bind ability, and you already have the better DPS than Hunter fully upgraded. This crest, when properly used, is insane in combat. My first run with it, I was unaware how to properly use it, but in the second, I shredded everything. Now, I'm gonna sound absolutely insane for this. Beast Crest is my favorite pogo. I know, it's absurd. If you look at the pogo, it seems borderline unusable. But in my opinion, it's fairly easy to tell where you're gonna go if you just think about it a little bit. Just get used to it, and it's not as bad as it seems. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely not reliable in any way. There were 2 particular spots in the run where I took me an insane amount of time just to make 1 jump, those being Cogwork Core and this one part in Shellwood. But if you just avoid the crest in these super tight vertical spaces, it's not too big an issue. You're not going to have too many headaches using the pogo otherwise, unless it's just a skill issue. I find the pogo incredibly fun, especially against flying enemies, as their AI makes them fly away, but you can just keep bouncing back and forth off them continuously, and it just feels so fun to pull off. What's insane to me is, I've heard the only way to use Beast Crest outside of combat is replace the pogo with Delver's Drill, which is absurd. You do not need Delver's Drill for the pogo, you just need to
Get the!
This is probably the most fun crest in the game for me. It melts bosses and has a super satisfying pogo. It's great for pretty much every combat encounter in the game, and while not the most reliable for exploration, it is incredibly fun in my opinion. The main issue for exploring is actually just the heal. The lack of blue tools before getting the Vesta crest is honestly unfortunate. I really wished it had at least one, but despite this, Beast Crest is probably the most overhated and misunderstood crest in the game. I had no idea what to think of the Witch Crest before I did this. I've used the cursed version of this crest far more than the actual Witch Crest itself, and all I really know about it is, with Multibinder and the Trobio mirrors, it's basically a nuke, but the limitations of this being a speedrun only allowed me to pick up the first Trobio mirror, so I didn't quite get to see the full potential. This crest was pretty in the middle of the pack on time, coming in at 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 49 seconds, which is better than I expected, honestly, but it probably would be the second slowest if Reaper was an actual speedrun. I love the moveset on the Witch Crest. The slashes look really nice and the range is really good. The attacks are slow, but still better than Reaper, and the pogo and dash attacks are super cool. They suck you into enemies and it looks sick. However, it has issues. I only really noticed this in the Lace 2 fight, but sometimes you don't get the iframes against the attacks when inside the enemy, so when I would pogo Lace during her triple slash attack, I would immediately be punished. I've never heard anyone talk about this, which is kinda weird considering Lace 2 is a fight you can do with Witch Crest in the normal game, but I have no idea if this is intended behavior for the fight, or if it's just some weird bug. I'm not sure if there are any other enemies or bosses this happens with, but it's a weird and unfortunate interaction on an otherwise fun moveset. The heal is also cool, when it works. I like the concept. You get infected by a parasite, then when cured of the parasite, the crest you get has a parasitic heal. Very cool, very cool. But so many of the enemies in the game are too slippery, so you start the heal and they end up sprinting away from you as fast as they possibly can. Trobio is a bastard and I hate him. You would think the guy who gives you the mirrors that require the enemy to stay still at work would know how to stay still. But for the most part, against bosses and enemy gauntlets, the heal is great. If you know the patterns of the boss well enough, that is, or if the boss staggers, that's a free nuke. Witch Crest is a very unique playstyle. It's really fun when it works, but it's incredibly tedious against quicker enemies and bosses. It's a fun pick if you know a boss well enough and want to try something new. This is definitely a niche pick, but I respect anyone who uses this. Underrated crest, I would definitely recommend giving this more of a try if you haven't. This crest, I already knew going into this, is not for me. The caveat of this crest's power is the long grind required for the shell shards just to fuel the insane tool output of the crest, and the grind itself is the antithesis of a speedrun. The final time ended up being the slowest, not counting the original Beast Crest time, at 2 hours, 54 minutes, and 11 seconds, which was honestly way faster than I expected, but still not great. When doing this run, I felt a little bit conflicted. I didn't know if I should take the time to actually grind out the shell shards to see what the crest was like at full power, or if I should prioritize speedrun time, but get less of a feel for the power of the tools. I ended up going a weird middle ground where I never fully had enough shards, but I was using tools as much as I reasonably could. It doesn't help that tool damage is locked behind upgrade kits, which besides the forged dollar one, are tedious to get. I know my combat view on this crest is biased because of this, and I contemplated using an infinite shell shard mod just to balance this out, but I ended up deciding against this, as I felt like the shell shard grind was an integral part of the Architect crest, and if I took that away, it would make the crest seem better than it actually is. The moveset on this crest feels awkward. Side attacks move you slightly forward, which isn't too noticeable until you knock yourself into something or off a platform. The attack also isn't just one hit. It's technically 3, each doing 0.9, 0.1, and 0.1 damage respectively. This doesn't help much at all, besides insta-breaking some objects like rosary piles, which actually kinda fitting. The pogo is also probably my least favorite in the game. I thought it would be less usable than it is, but it's perfectly usable the same way Beast is. It's just boring, unlike Beast Crests, making it tedious to use and not worth it at all. The pogo's only saving grace is that you can charge it, which is pretty neat. It's great for making it easier to land and doing damage in combat. This crest is best used as a resort against a boss that you're struggling with. If you are someone that infrequently uses red tools, and you have an excess of shell shards, you can throw on Architect and destroy whatever was giving you trouble. The only problem is, you can't get too comfortable doing that, or else you're in for a grind of buying a surplus of shell shards. I understand why people love the crest so much, I just don't have the patience to buy a lifetime supply of shell shards just to be able to play the game. If you enjoy it, I understand. It's fun watching bosses melt, but I personally don't like doing that at all. I'd rather learn a boss and just figure out what to do against it. I also had to cheat on this run to free the Bell Beast. Only time I ever had to switch off a crest. Yes, I could have just not used the Bell Beast, but this run was already incredibly tedious. This crest, since I got it, has been my favorite crest in the game. The offensive capabilities of the Shaman crest are incredibly fun, but I should mention the entirety of this run is impossible in the base game, as the crest is Act 3 exclusive, and the standard ending for Silksong is only Acts 1 and 2. But the run was still fun, and it didn't really change my opinion on the crest at all. The final time ended up being 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 31 seconds. There was some time loss to go grab Threadstorm, but that's about it. Every other time loss was a skill issue. The heal is a reason people may be more cautious to try the crest out, and I get it. In a lot of situations, the heal just sucks. It can be very risky or even impossible to heal. For example, in the Nihilith fight, where there's just no floor, you can't heal at all. But in my experience, the heal isn't that bad. It is usually possible to find the heal opening when needed, but it can be difficult to find the window to heal and still be dealing damage with silk skills. However, against smaller enemies, you should not need to heal much at all. The damage of the silk skills usually kills whatever is going to hurt you before it can. The moveset of the Shaman crest is cool. Like Rubberfly's Elegy from Hollow Knight, you shoot long-range energy beams from your needle. It complements the safer at-range playstyle of the Shaman crest very nicely. The pogo is a little bit boring in my opinion though. It's safe to use and slightly angled, so it's an incredibly easy pogo, but it also has the weird property that it can be used to stall in air. It pushes you up even if you don't hit anything. A good use case is in the flee minigames. The bounce minigame is really easy with the Shaman crest. Crest is pretty weak slots honestly, only having 2 blues, but since the crest is unlocked in Act 3, you usually have the Vesti crest already, giving you a yellow slot for dice and the extra blue slot. The crest is really fun if you like silk skills. It's incredibly fun to play aggressively with this crest, as you can deal tons of damage to enemies while also playing from a safe distance. It's fun the same way a spell build isn't fun in Hollow Knight, without being too easy since silk skill damage is tied to your needle upgrade. Unfortunately, it is an Act 3 exclusive, so many players never even get to use it, but it is an incredibly fun way to play the game. Alright, so I'm going to try my best to keep this conclusion short as I can make it, because this video has taken forever to get out, and what better way is there to do just that than quickly rank all of the crests from worst to best. By the way, this is not objective at all, this is just how much I enjoy them. In last place is the Architect crest. I get that the crest is very powerful, I just find almost every aspect of the crest boring. The grind is boring, the playstyle is boring, the moveset is boring. I get why people like the crest so much, but I cannot like it myself at all. In 6th place is Reaper. It has aspects I like about it. The Silk ability is really good for chaining heals one after another, but the crest is too slow for me to find it fun. It's good if you're really bad at the game, but past that, it's just not great. Architect and Reaper are the only crests I actively don't like using, so everything onwards is something I like. And with that being said, in 5th place is the Witch crest. It's really fun and underrated, but it just feels too niche for me to put it any higher. The heal makes it a little difficult for exploration, but it's still super fun and unique in combat. Now this is maybe controversial, but in 4th place I'm putting the Wanderer crest. It's super fun, don't get me wrong, but it's just so easy with the high DPS. It's just hard to put it any higher. The crest is super versatile and great for everything, but weirdly enough, I hate it for that. The crest is a noob trap, and a really hard one to leave just because it's so hard to go back to the normal needle speed after getting used to Wanderer crests. Now for top 3. In 3rd, the Beast crest. Personally, I find it the most fun out of every single crest in the game. Great for combat, and the moveset feels so unique I can't help but like it. It isn't a crest I would use too much outside of combat, other than for the challenge, but it's not nearly as bad as you would think for exploration. And at number 2, we have Hunter crest. Definitely the crest I've used the most by a mile, and I mostly use it for exploration due to the dive dashing being super fun, and the pogo is good utility for movement as well. It's also great in combat due to how versatile it is. It's hard to go wrong with Hunter crest. And now for number 1, the best crest in the game is Shaman. I just find Silk skill builds so fun. It sucks that you can only get it in Act 3. Maybe it deserves to be lower just for that, but I don't care. This is my opinion. Screw you. Shaman crest is great for DPS and not bad for exploration. You just need to be cautious of what's under you. Great crest, great damage, and a great deal of fun. 10 out of 10 crest. Woohoo! You made it to the post-video discussion. Hooray! I'm finally back for my yearly upload, and this time I actually plan to make more content afterwards. I already have a few more Silksong videos planned, and I have a Minecraft video with Connor AF that I'm already working on editing, so look out for those. But I started doing the Silksong speedruns for this video all the way back in December, and I'm only now finally finishing up this video in mid-April, but luckily I learned a few things about editing in the process, so hopefully my next video will be out before 2027. I really enjoyed working on this though, and hopefully my motivation will continue into other upcoming projects, so stick around for more in the future. Maybe I'll even have more deranged takes about Silksong and other things to come.